Hi and welcome to this video log with me, Wayne, from SwimCycleRunCoach. Well, it's Christmas, fantastic time of the year, but for the training triathlete it can cause problems. There's two things effectively that we have to think about. The first thing is overeating and overdrinking, and the second thing is training in what does apparently appear to be pretty poor weather over the Christmas period. Now, triathletes can't be hermits. That would be ridiculous. We often have families, we have to mix with our families, and we want to mix our training in with that. And it's easy to do. And if you think about it, when we have extra time and we want to spend it with the family, why not involve the family with our training? We can always do something with the family, cross-train a little bit, that might make sense if we really have to. But you're going to want to eat and drink that little bit extra at Christmas time. It's what it's all about. It's what the fun's about. And triathletes have to live as well as be triathletes. More difficult than that to a certain extent is what to do if bad weather really hits. I mean, I'm of the opinion, and I think most coaches really are, that if you miss a training session, if you happen to miss it, and you have to miss it, either because you're doing family duties or because the weather suddenly turned really awful and you just can't do that thing, or the pool's closed, then it doesn't really matter. You don't try and make up that time. Don't try and make up for that missed session. Because if you do, you'll just be chasing yourself, and in the week after you're liable to overtrain, and that might set in things like increased opportunity for injury and increased likelihood of overtraining. So you don't want to set that in motion, and you don't want to become obsessive about having to do every single meter that you've put down in your training. But there have been one or two studies that might actually help you with your training. For example, cycle training can actually improve your running. Now, I bet you didn't think you'd hear me say that, but I'm reading a book called Running Science by Owen Anderson, and I will put a little picture just here of the book, and I'll give you a link to the book, which is an exceptionally good book. It's mostly for coaches, but it is an exceptionally good book. And in that, it obviously goes into all running science, but he looks at cross-training and specifically looks at cycling as a means of gaining run fitness. So various studies have been undertaken about cycling for run training, and in the first, 16 fairly lean, fit runners were divided into two groups of 8. And for 9 weeks they undertook training. 8 of the athletes solely undertook run training. 8 of the athletes solely undertook training on exercise bicycles. Each group trained 4 times a week, between 40 and 45 minutes each session. And for 2 of them, they were continuous workouts at 80 to 85% of maximum heart rate. And for 2 of them, they were interval sessions between 90 and 95% of maximum heart rate. Now, before the study, each of the athletes was checked for VO2 max on both the bike and in running, and for ventilatory threshold, which is similar to lactate threshold. And so we had those figures, or they had those figures, and they could judge them. And those who engaged just in cycling improved their running VO2 max by 15% and their running ventilatory threshold by 13%. Those same athletes improved their cycling VO2 max by the same 15% and their cycling ventilatory threshold by 31%. So there's a difference there in the ventilatory threshold, but no difference whatsoever in the VO2 max. And interesting, the athletes who just ran for those 9 weeks improved their figures, but improved them to no greater extent than those who cycled, which has a huge implication for people who are triathletes. You can do cycle training in a particular way and actually replicate the benefits that you're going to get had you been out running instead 4 times a week. In another study, it looked at a theory postulated by both Dave Scott and Tom Miller, who's an Olympic athlete. And this was about standing up cycling uphill and how that helped their 10K run times. And the study was fairly simple. It was based on a pyramid, and it was done with 9 individuals over a 6-week period. And they took away any clips, and they didn't use cycle shoes, so they literally had to pedal down on the pedals. And the sessions were a 10-minute warm-up, followed by 2 lots of 30-second effort with a 15-second spin and 60-second recovery, 45-second effort with a 30-second spin, 60-second recovery, again twice, then a 60-second effort with a 30-second spin and a 60-second recovery, and then back down again, followed by a 10-minute recovery phase at the end. The hard efforts were out of the saddle, the spinning was in the saddle, and so was the recovery. And the spinning was done at half the resistance of the main set, and the resistance of the main set was really hard. And after 6 weeks, the best 10k times and average 10k times improved by 8.6%. So the average 10k times improved from 47 minutes and 9 seconds to 43 minutes and 7 seconds. Purely doing that type of training. And all of the athletes reported that after the bike training they felt stronger while running, specifically on hills, and also during the closing miles of a 10k race than they had before the research started. So both of those studies tend to suggest that cycle training can help your run training. So there's lots of ways that you don't actually have to miss out on training, even if the weather is tipping it down or if it's snowing. So there you go. You don't necessarily have to do all that you normally do during this period. Think of something different. Out of saddle cycling, where you really are pushing down on a heavy resistance, for a pyramid might be something that can help you improve your 10k time. Certainly you should enjoy this Christmas period. Families are there to be enjoyed. Don't be the isolated one doing your training whilst everyone else is enjoying their Christmas. Enjoy it with your family. Okay? Have fun. I'll see you next week. It's New Year then. Even more drinking and more eating. Okay? Have a good Christmas.